Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now, guys? We've got Bayern Munich in the playoff round of the Champions League, and I think I speak for a lot of Celtic fans, but it does feel that the club is maybe kind of waving the white flag a little bit when it came to how hesitant that they seem to be in the transfer window. We're coming into this game on the back foot in some ways, with Daizen Maeda being suspended and the transfer window, how it really shook out. With the squad, I think we can all agree it's definitely not got better since the transfer window. We've had that point of discussion on the channel for a couple of days now, talking about, the squad potentially being net zero, kind of about the same. Is it a little bit weaker? Is it a little bit stronger? But no matter how you look at it, it's certainly not way better. It's certainly not an upgraded window. If anything, we're kind of just about neutral, aren't we? And with that, we have Bayern Munich on the horizon, which is going to be not necessarily the make and break of our season. I think qualifying to this stage is certainly job done for Brendan, pass marks for the squad, and we've had some great nights and some great results. But this does give us an opportunity. I think this game, Bayern was the one I wanted out of Bayern and Real, but I think this game, there is a chance, there is an opportunity that we could go on to do the unthinkable, to defeat Bayern Munich over two legs. And in the video today, I'm going to be going through my plan of attack, how I would approach this game if I was Celtic, if I was Brendan Rodgers, to try and take Bayern Munich out over two legs. At any point in the video today, if you laugh, you learn, you like something, or whatever it might be in this one, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and get into the comment section, guys, and let me know what you think about the preview, the thoughts, the feelings of the plan, the strategy, what Brendan will actually do, and anything you want to add into the conversation, of course, as well. We've recently broke through 10,000 subscribers, and we're flying towards 18,888, and we cannot do that without your support. So if you do enjoy the content here, please do hit like and subscribe for more. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Because this is a video I've been looking forward to make for a little while, especially seeing how the transfer window did actually shake out in the end. I actually believe, and we'll come to it in a little minute, that the transfers we made might actually be perfect to get something out of this encounter over two legs. But the first thing we've got to do is preview the opposition. What are we up against? What are the strengths and weaknesses? And what can we maybe expect from the opposition? Bayern Munich are, of course, one of the creme de la creme clubs in elite European football, with some of the biggest and most recognisable names and talents in world football, high transfer value players, you name it, they have got it. And if we have a look at how their squad sits at the moment, you'll see what I mean quite quickly. A lot of recognised internationals, a few Champions League winners and World Cup winners and whatnot sprinkled in there for a good measure as well. But it's not the deepest squad, and Vincent Kompany is in his first year of management at Bayern Munich, his first year of management, not at Burnley, essentially, which is, Burnley, upper end championship, getting into the Prem, he's definitely, it's a year of experience, isn't it, at a high level of European football, don't get me wrong, but certainly a different job entirely to being the Bayern Munich first team manager. And Kompany, for the most part, has been pretty solid, and he's not really changed too much about what we've recognised from Bayern Munich over the last couple of years. But this is kind of, the players in red is the starting 11 I would expect to see come to paradise, and you can generally see where they end up on the pitch. Now, they do have a lot of variety in attack with Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry and Kingsley Coman. All three of these players have a contentious future coming into the summer, and Leroy Sané is happy to take a pay cut to stay, former teammate of the manager Vincent Kompany as well. So I do feel out of the three, he will be the one that is selected to start. Michael Olise, the big summer transfer off the back of them signing Harry Kane as well. These two guys, along with Musiala, are ever present, and there's some Scotland-Germany kind of subplots that are kind of lying throughout this. Musiala being one of them, of course, in this midfield zone, supporting the front line, carrying the ball from deep, linking up the play, and Musiala is one of the most exciting players in the world to watch at the moment, and he is the primary danger man, make no mistake about it. Olise is artillery. This is a guy that is good on the dribble, but he's all about shooting and crossing from around this position out here, so it's going to be really important that he gets defended against. And as we know, Harry Kane is just fox in the box. You give him a chance, he's going to put it away. Left foot, right foot, header, shoulder, knee, whatever it is. Penalties, of course, he's going to smash the back of the net. And the foundation that they're building that upon is a left back that they don't really have any other left backs. Alphonso Davies has just signed a new contract, but is out injured at the moment. I don't think he'll make either leg of this, if memory serves me right. But Rafael Guerreiro is a recognised Bundesliga, Champions League level fullback, Portugal international as well, and he's not rapid. That's definitely one thing that holds Rafa Guerreiro back, is he's very good technically, has played very effectively in centre midfield, if that kind of helps you understand maybe a little bit of that pace, that lack of pace that he has. He's quick, he's nippy, but he's not a lightning fast player on the wing, as it were. but he'll be the kind of wide option in support of most likely Sané. And then really outside of that, they've got this kind of base midfield 5. If we take away the players that, maybe Pavlovic or Palhinha could start for Goretzka, but again, I think it will be Goretzka that he'll favour in this one for a bit of experience. Muller will probably feature from the bench, and we'll just clean this up a little bit. But with Leon Goretzka, they've got, if you can imagine, and you wouldn't have seen him play for Germany as he didn't make the squad in the World Cup or the Euros, in the summer. But if you can imagine Paulo Bernardo, but a lot better, in a lot of different ways. That's kind of the sort of player you're getting here. He's not quick to cover ground. He's always kind of ever present where the ball is, quick to snuff out danger, and can arrive on the edge of the box for goals and assists, that sort of thing. With Joshua Kimmich, again, a big kind of subplot carry over here with Musiala from the Germany game, because we're going to have Callum McGregor in amongst all this, as well as somebody else, but there is actually no one else. So just that midfield dynamic is what I'm kind of hanging on here. But Kimmich is the main playmaker. He is their Callum McGregor, and he definitely exhibits all the same qualities and strengths that McGregor does in terms of orchestrating the play and dictating the attacks. But he has, similar to Goretzka, that kind of nose for danger, and he's got that kind of bite of being a defensive midfielder, formerly being right back, of course, where he does hold this position really well. And then with Conrad Laimer, he's kind of got a little bit of the Greg Taylor role, where he can kind of pop up and be flexibly available whenever required. Does have good recovery pace, and that's why we find him out in right back. But the reason I'm kind of laying all this out the way I am is because predominantly Bayern Munich are really happy to play with their two defenders defending and recovery, and if anyone else can make it back, then fine. Neuer, of course, as we know, is the sweeper keeper, so there's not normally a huge gap to be found in between centre backs and goalkeeper. By playing the ball long, the best way to go for these guys is going to be getting on the outside, getting on the channels, and then having support through the middle to catch guys on recovery. And Kim and Upamecano are both Titan level defenders. They're super strong, super fast, but they both have mistakes in them, and the Bayern Munich fans are never completely happy with their defence these days, and it's because there is mistakes to be had in this team. If we look at Bayern Munich's kind of track record, even how many matches are here on screen, I don't know, but there's 2 clean sheets in there, a 5-0 win against Hoffenheim and a 1-0 win against Borussia Mönchengladbach. And if we look at those 2 games as an example, Eric Dyer played in defence alongside Alphonso Davies, who won't make the game we suspect, and again the 5-0 win against Hoffenheim. Rafi Guerreiro was played on right back and probably tucked into midfield a little bit here, and there's been a bit of a different look on the front 3 to what we expect against Celtic. Losing 3-0 to Feyenoord is something that should give us a bit of hope, because Bayern needed the win in this game, and Feyenoord at home took them to the cleaners, so they are vulnerable. They can be scored against. Alphonso Davies getting injured in this match, of course. They then beat Bratislava, and we played Bratislava, and we know how Bayern only scored 3. We scored a lot more than them, and Bratislava at this point are on their knees, dead. The 8th game of the Champions League are getting stuffed every game week, and it was a really strong Bayern team. They even played Kimmich in centre back with 2 attacking fullbacks, so they really went for it. The statistics in this game are incredible. Bayern had 1 million shots. So they are a team you'd expect to find in the semi-finals. They are a team you'd expect to find maybe even in the final ultimately. They do have high quality in every position, but the way they're going to attack this game, the qualities they have, there's no real secrets here. You really just need to be on your P's and Q's and have a plan of attack for when Bayern are stretched themselves into the game and they really do, commit their midfield a bit higher. How are we then going to try and exploit that 1v1 defending that they want to have, or any gaps that the likes of Guerreiro and Laimer might be leaving for us to kind of turn and bounce into? And this is the Celtic squad as we find it coming into this playoff match. Now, there is a few noticeable things for this match. We do have Daizen Maeda suspended, and we can probably clean up the rest of or a lot of the team quite quickly. We don't expect Anthony Ralston to feature in this game, similar to Yang. And I'd even put Bernardo and McKeown quite quickly into that bucket as well. We know what the midfield is going to be, and we know, or do we know? But we know who's not available for the front 3. We know Ida will play, we know Kuhn will play. And across the defence, Carter Vickers and Trusty for me is going to be the centre-back pairing. Okay. Now, where the main issue with this comes is because without Daizen Maeda, can we get Jota to be ready to be fit to start this game? Maybe. Now, there's a lot of chat, and, I get you need to be, fighting fit, as it were. But there's been a lot of chat around Jota needing time to get up to speed, and it'll take a while for him to bed into the squad, right? And I'm not being funny. I know he's not played in Saudi Arabia for a full season, but he was just on the cusp of, breaking into the Rennes team before they changed manager, and that manager's also now been sacked. He did score, he was contributing, he was starting to start, so I'm not sure Jota is that far away. He's also got a goal off the bench on debut, and at point of recording we'll see how he does tonight against Dundee. And the other player we've got to factor into this equation is going to be Jeffrey Schlupp, who again is the last signing we made in the January transfer window and plays all along the left side of the pitch. And this is a guy, again, that hasn't played much this year, but has been ready, willing and able to play for his team, but just not been called upon. So again, he's got, similar to Jota, they've both got actually a bit of a crash course situation on the go, where with the game that we play tonight at point of recording against Dundee, and then we follow that up with Wraith, there is a bit of pressure on getting Jota to be capable of starting this game, and or Jeffrey Schlupp. Now, this game is going to go in one of two ways for me. Someone might start quick and take initiative in the match with an early goal and all the rest of it. But I do think we should be going into this mindset of it being a two-legged affair. Away goals, I don't think they've been brought back in for this new format of the Champions League, but they have been, marginalised now, so away goals don't really mean anything. So there's less pressure on the away goal going against us in this match. We are going to concede. We just need to accept that. Over the two legs, we're not going to get 2 clean sheets. If we get 1, then by golly, are we going to be jamming? But we're not going to get 2. So if we can see the goal, it's not the end of the world. We still need to approach the game to win over 2 legs in this one. And I think the left-hand side question mark might actually give us an inverted key into this, because the main problem we've got when we look at that Bayern team and we lay it on top of the Celtic team here is going to be dealing with the threat of particularly Musiala. We might see Olise potentially punishes in this kind of zone, and maybe Leroy Sané might get a bit of joy off the back of it as well. But the main way we've been exploited in Europe has been this gap between defensive midfielder and the defence as well. And when you look at the Germany-Scotland, or even you look at Scotland with McGregor in mind in this kind of situation here, he always done much better with Billy Gilmore next to him, where there was 2 of them to do that job together, where one could engage the ball, go and fight and tackle, knowing that he had a direct sweeper, a direct cover in and behind. But they both still had that freedom, that ability to, if they get on the ball, they can carry it through a bit of space and lay someone else on. And I do think that, bearing in mind that this is the main threat that they're going to be bringing, yes, they'll be strong in the wide areas, I think we know that already, but the primary way we get exploited is the midfield being nullified. It doesn't protect the defence the way it should. And with that in mind, I would be starting Jeffrey Schlupp ahead of Jota, to start him on the left wing for this one, because we can ask him to come back, Daizen Maeda style, to come back and cover the defence. And again, with the pace that he offers, with the pace we'll have in support of Hatate and Kuhn on the other side, Ida is the spearhead up against the centre-backs, Jota still on the bench later on in the match potentially. I think that could be a good kind of little escape clause here. But if we are going to not give them the pitch, right, but if we're going to concede a bit of possession and concede a bit of territory to them, then the midfield needs to be that kind of coiled spring where the 3 of them are all back in here, guarding the spaces, cutting off the passing lanes, and making it really hard for Musiala to get in and behind the defence to be able to spray balls for Olise or Kane or anyone else that might be coming through. And you still have a task on your hands with making sure someone on the edge of play like Kimmich or Goretzka isn't penetrating as well. So everyone needs to be ready to, engage, and it needs all hands to the pump. I don't think we can leave Hatate up here in forward press position. I think we need to, and don't get me wrong, there will be moments in the game where maybe that's possible, but there needs to be this, rest defence, or whatever you want to think of it as, where all 3 of them are really keen as mustard back in here, nice and deep and tight, and making sure that none of these guys are getting space to break into. There's no easy channel for a ball to go in for as well. And ultimately McGregor isn't getting exposed. Hatate and Engels do need to look after him in that sense, where he's not getting a big space left in his void and someone breaks into it. Everyone needs to be aware of that, because that's Bayern Munich will scout that, they'll know that, and that's something that they'll try and do against us, no two ways about it. But if we're going to play Schlupp on this side here, we know we're probably not going to get 90 minutes out of him, so Jota coming on to flip the script later in the game perhaps could also work, because we do expect that the fullbacks will give us space in these areas here to go on and create opportunities with. So having that kind of quality in Jota, who's a bit more of a maverick to come in, as maybe Nicholas Kuhn maybe begins to fade in the latter stages of the game, I think is definitely still an angle to keep here. But the real kind of trick here, I think that we could be missing, and I would like to see us maybe trying this one, is because if Bayern do have a lot of territory, if they do get on the ball quite often, Olise is one of their main targets, as is Kane, and then even just getting extra height into the box with the likes of Goretzka or Musiala. And Taylor is good defensively, but I would much rather start Scales in this one and treat the whole defence as like a back 4, just 4 centre backs almost. Yeah, Johnson maybe has a bit of leash where he can be released off on a counter attack to break us up, and then we tuck this in as a bit more of a back 3 kind of dynamic. But I would much rather just have the best defence that we can, have the midfield as conservative as we possibly can, and then really with the front 3, they have complete license and autonomy to break, and if we do turn the ball over, get into space quickly. And I feel, looking at the track record, watching Bayern Munich this year, like, they're definitely a team that you can defend against with the heroics that Kasper Schmeichel, the big green clean machine, that is capable of. Like we've even seen there with that Feyenoord match, you know, they're not infallible, they're not perfect, they've not got a legendary manager that really is at the top of his game with tons of players reaching their peak. Like, Kimmich's future is still uncertain, as is Goretzka's. Neuer is ancient, just signed a new 1-year extension. And like I mentioned earlier with the forwards, you know, there's a lot going on with this Bayern team. It's still, I'm not trying to diminish it at all, but to put it into context, like, they're not Real Madrid in the current form, who was the other opponent we could have. They've got a bit of a defensive injury crisis themselves, don't get me wrong, and that might leave them somewhat vulnerable, but they still have Mbappe, Bellingham and Ancelotti and co, like, still in there. They've got that different kind of stardust about them. Bayern don't have that, you know. And if we get through the first leg, keeping the scoreline tight, this is the key, the biggest key element of the first leg, is the game needs to be alive going into the second leg, because at home against Bayern, this might be a similar tactic we need to deploy, but rather than it being Scales and left back, where maybe by the time we get to the second match, we could maybe play Schlupp, Jota and Daizen, and then we've just got like a totally different dynamic where, like, Daizen, Jota and Kuhn on the counter-attack in the Allianz. That is something that would, you know, really keep them on their toes. And that's a front line that you could see scoring goals against Bayern Munich in transition. All three of them are lightning quick. You can get a really good press. All of them like to win the ball back as well. And, you know, if the scoreline's tight, having the front three potential, it might even be either that starts and you play Daizen on the left, fine. You've then got Jota off the bench still, if he's still a little bit rusty. But just that extra physicality of Schlupp. Former teammates, by the way, Schlupp and Olise, that's just kind of coming to me as we're talking about this. Then, you know, we could set ourselves up to have a nice second leg, and we wouldn't need to worry about, like, imagine we lost at Parkhead 3-2. We don't need to worry, like, oh, they've scored 3 away goals. That totally kills the fixture, because that's not really the way it works. It's just 1 goal deficit, and then you've got extra time available to you and other stuff. So I'm definitely not giving up on this for Celtic. I think across both legs, we've just about got the personnel to have a game plan that could work. You know, doesn't need to be Scales at left back, but that's the way I would go for it, and just try and, like, make the defence super tight, super together, let no one get dragged out of position where someone else can just fill in that gap and punish us, and just make sure that it is kept as tight as possible for as long as possible. And if Hatate can break out, his range of passing from deep, as is Engels, like, we should get joy in this sort of situation. And if we can take the chances that we make and keep the scoreline tight, that's the keyest part of this. I don't really have much worries about the scoring. Let's say over both legs, 3 goals against Bayern Munich, but it's how many will we concede. Can we keep them to 3 or less, the same as us, or however many we end up actually scoring, you know? Because this is going to be a common phase of play in the game, and we need to make sure that these gaps are just not going to get exploited, because that's just where I'm always got my head in my hands with this stuff. But anyway, I'm optimistic, I'm excited, and it's a bit early to do score predictions, but this is how I would attack Celtic versus Bayern Munich in the Champions League playoff. Looking forward to catching the comments, thoughts and feelings of all you guys that have watched the video, of course. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Hail, hail, and Mon the Hoops.